Howdy folks, Grotto Goblin here of the Goblin's Grotto, and welcome to a follow-up on the Reaper Miniatures Dungeon Dwellers role-playing game Kickstarter. This update is going to follow more the miniature side of things, going over what we've unlocked in terms of minis that you can get either in the miniature-only pledge as add-ons, or, if you get an all-in kind of collector's deal in the pledge manager. So, without further ado, let's take a look at what we have unlocked. So, first things first, obviously, we got those 4 adventures to cover our base classes, and then a big old baddie to fight. This is the charnel grub. Think carrion crawler, things like that. We saw this in the last one because it was basically a first unlock. This was a very low goal to have to reach. I wanted to kind of go over these minis, give sort of a better opinion on them, what I think. I did mention in the last one I am a little concerned of these things snapping off, but it depends on how sturdy this material is. I really appreciate the lumpy and bumpiness of this miniature and whatever is going on with the mouth. Very cool. Love to see this kind of stuff. So, this will be coming in all of your miniature only pledges and collector's boxes. They have it listed here. Very nice and neatly. Moving on. Our armored goblins. Now, with any adventure, it seems like people throw goblins in there. Just once, I would like to see some adventures where you're saving goblins and not fighting them. You know what? I'm going to get these goblins, and they're going to be my allies. Am I biased? Yes. So anyway, as we mentioned previously, this is the goblin that I guess would have been in Bones 6, the Tales from the Green Griffin Kickstarter. You can check out some videos that I've done on that in a playlist linked probably up here or on the channel. But yeah, so this was one of the preview minis that they sent out, and then it just wasn't in Bones 6. And people were wondering what happened with that. Are we going to see it in the next Bones campaign? No, we were actually going to see it here. And then 3 more of his buddies. I really like the design. I like whatever this armor is, this sort of scale mail armor. Is it a leather? Is it a metal? Who can say? It depends on how you paint it, I guess. And the weapons, they all have a kind of like beat up element to them. See, these guys are like roughing it out in the woods. And from what I can tell about the scale, from what I've seen of the painted models of this guy over here, the size of the goblins is pretty nice. It's not too huge, not too small. It's a pretty decent size and good for painting. So I think these will be very useful. We're going to come back to these later, I believe. So, the Wraith also added in. We saw that in the last video as well. It was one of the early unlocks. Just a single Wraith, pretty decent size. Mini looks like it'll be like a medium-sized monster, but it comes on this base of a sort of a tombstone with a little bit of the fencing there for the graveyard. Really neat. Sometimes I kind of prefer my miniatures to have less of a base, so it's not like distracting or anything when on the mat and you're moving a miniature around and you don't have like a whole diorama underneath them as you're moving, and then your players are like, so is any of that actually in the game? And you have to be like, no, the entire castle that this dragon is perched on top of is not actually in the field. So, sometimes the bases can get a little out of hand, but this one, it's overall pretty subtle. I don't think it's a big deal. I suppose what you could do is put like a little gravestone piece on the field, and then you could have this rise up out of it. You'd have to find some like similar tombstone, I guess. But yeah, Whisperer Wraith, pretty solid. I talked about how this is not necessarily hostile looking. I mean, I'd be a little scared, but if a ghost rose up out of a grave in front of me, but it doesn't look like it's necessarily evil, so you can kind of paint that how you want, use it however you want. Alright, so here's some of the newer stuff. We've covered the old things, old news. Some monstrous centipedes. Yes, so you're going to get 2 of these. They look like they are just mirrors of each other. So you can see the tail goes around that way and goes around that way on this one. So, yeah. So they're the same. But they're the same miniature, and yeah, it looks like a medium sized, although, I mean, it's huge, gigantic, gargantuan for a centipede. But, in terms of the actual size, it seems like it'll be about on par with like a human's height. So that's pretty neat. I am wary of all these little tiny things snapping off. From the material, and we'll have to see. We'll have to look into it a little more. The material looks like Bones USA material. Sometimes they print those on 3D printers, and then other times they use that same goop, that same material in like a more traditional model making process, or like a Cyocast machine. So unclear at the moment. I'm gonna have to look into it and see. They usually don't finalize that kind of stuff in the production at this stage, so we'll have to see where they land on that. But yeah, I would expect this to be pretty highly detailed material just from what I'm looking here. I mean, look at all the little. You can even see individual little knobs on the legs, and all these little scales and everything in the eyes. Like, the detail looks like it'll be pretty good, and these look like they're test prints that they've photoshopped onto this. Apologies for the somewhat blurry scale, because Kickstarter does not scale images well. I mean, look at that. That's yucky looking. And unfortunately, this is really the only image we have to go off of. But yeah, so we'll see about the durability of the material, but detail-wise, I have some high confidence in these minis. Alright, next unlock the Ogre, a large miniature. Again, collector's box and miniatures only pledge. This is a pretty standard guy. I like his little earring and classic ogre club situation. It looks like though he put some kind of decor on there. So that's pretty neat to see, and implying some culture amongst ogre and ogre kin. I suppose if you were going to use this mini for something that's not an ogre, maybe it could be like an oni. Those are very similar, or maybe just a really big orc. If your orcs look like this in your fantasy world. But overall, nothing too much to write home about. There's plenty of detail. What detail there is. I'm not really sure what's going on with his belly button there, or whatever that is. It's like he's got a little bit of food there. He needs to brush off. But yeah, pretty standard ogre, and it is added. Right, another large mini thrown in, the Moor Troll. From what I'm guessing, looking at this large mini isn't going to be that large. It'll be tall, but it's not going to take up a ton of space. So, pretty typical troll size. There was some conversation down here I saw. It was actually talking about why the trolls look different, and why do Reaper miniature trolls have kind of a varying level of consistency in their design. Different sculptors lend their different artistic influences to the different troll minis, but Reaper Mini, they seem to have different species of troll out there, and this is just one of them, sort of a more gangly type. I really like the base with all of these little stones scattered about. Really could be in any environment. The dangling bone cloth here with whatever that is. That's just a very interesting skull design. Very intricate for a troll to have. Maybe their culture is a little more advanced than we thought. Or, maybe they just took that off of something that just has a cool skull or found it somewhere else. If you can hear some yard work happening outside, apologies. I live at a place where people do yard work, unfortunately. It's very irritating. But we're going to power through. So that's going to be added. Good to see that. Could always use some more trolls. Now this, as far as minis go, it is probably not one you're going to use a ton because these are pretty high level encounters, but this is the, oh boy, Flimgratch. There's not even an L there. Fimgratch. Is that its name? Is that a species? I don't know. But that's what this is. It is, a beholder-inspired mini. Very neat. Has this armor? Fins? I don't know. But a very cool little thing going there. I'm looking at this mini and the test print that I assume this is. And the material honestly kind of looks more akin to a Bones standard. And this is stuff that they do with larger miniatures in these Kickstarter campaigns, where the material will be made of a more reliable, sturdy stuff, but you'll lose a little bit of detail. And not to say this isn't detailed, but it is a little more simple compared to some of the stuff we saw previously. Regardless, very neat looking. I really like these stalk designs that have the teeth, little grippers around the eyes. I think they're just really neat. We've seen some various beholder minis from Reaper where they'll use this sort of stalactite, or I guess this stalagmite base. Well, who knows? This thing could always be up on the ceiling looking down. They do fly. But, this is a really cool design. I haven't really seen this a ton. And, very, very neat. You can see the scale, the Surf Force scale. It's not that big as far as things go, but these things, whether it's in this role-playing game or Dungeons & Dragons or anything else, tend to be very tough encounters. So, it doesn't have to be big, it just has to be strong and cool. And this one is definitely cool. And so we didn't actually have to reach a funding goal for this one, just a number of backers, which we have met. So it'll be added to your pledges that qualify. So this is the start of something really neat. And I'm actually going to come back to this later. They're really going ham out there at the Yardware. Alright, so these aren't minis. These are little metal fortune tokens. They're going to be added to your collector's box. I just kind of wanted to highlight these because even if you don't, if you're getting the collector's box, you're going to be getting these, you're probably backing for the whole RPG system anyways. But maybe if it's not your main goal with backing this campaign, you still get these little tokens. You can, use them for whatever, handing out inspiration or anything like that. Just, cool little metal fortune tokens. And they will be cast in zinc. So they are metal. Real metal. Alright, well, about last. Not quite last, but next to last, soon to last. We have some new minis added. The monstrous ticks. Medium, again, gargantuan for an actual tick. Titanic, but, that size of a person, which is terrifying to think of. So 2 of these, they look like they're the same mini. They're right under my window. Hold on. Okay, so the Monsters takes 2 really cool minis. We have a Surf 4 scale here. Very cool. I like the design. I like the sort of there's a harder but elastic banding, sort of a shell around them, and then in here I guess would be where the blood sac is, but there's just a little outside for a little more rigidity. And armor protection because they're very big targets, and if you're full of blood and whatever, that would be an easy way to get popped, I guess. It does make you wonder though, if this is the size of the ticks, what is it that they're feeding it? How big is that? Much to think about. So the reason I was saying I would come back to that whole add-on thing is that they are doing extras for this campaign, and I think this is a brilliant idea. $10 each, and then look what you get. You can get 6 of the giant centipedes, 6 goblins, looks like 2 of each of the designs, 6 skeletons, same deal there, some giant ants coming over from the previous Bones campaign, Bones 6 Kickstarter. It does not look like it includes the queen, but giant ants, you can always use more of those. Oh, I hate them out there. They're weed eaters. It's like not even worth doing that lawn work right now. It's gonna rain and all. It's unnecessary. Since we're going into winter, everything's gonna die anyway, man. Anyway, ticks, 6 of these. I honestly think each one of these is a great choice for this sort of an extras pack. Ideal sort of squad characters here, and then roaming monsters. I will say, you can probably get more use out of some of these than others. Typically, a lot of adventures are going to have goblins and skeletons more than giant ants and giant centipedes and ticks. But, these 3, the insectoid ones, they're perfect for an adventure that really focuses on that. And hey, maybe you go on an adventure where you get shrunk down and you're tiny, and so that these are, actually just regular creatures, but now they're giant to you. Or maybe you're playing in a Humblewood setting, where you are little animal guys yourself. In which case, these would fit in perfectly. So, yeah, you can just add these. They're you'll probably have to do some actual management in the pledge manager when that comes to designate that this is exactly what you want. But you can just go to manage pledge and then add some of these, and there you go. It'll calculate the price for you. So that is most of what I wanted to go over today, since this is a miniature focused thing. We do have a up and coming unlock, the Basilisk here. Should be very familiar to people who have followed Reaper miniatures for a while. They like this sort of Basilisk design. There are a good few of these on the store, some of their older ones. It's one of their, definitely not recent, but it's not that old design. And then you'll probably recognize another model from Bones 5. It was in the core set here. This one does not look to be the same model, but it's the same species, same sort of sculpting design. Good to see. Not unlocked yet, but should be unlocked soon-ish. Yeah, pretty close. And you see, we are well past the stretch goal. So presumably we have surpassed the tipping point for these sort of things. And from a minis perspective, I don't think the production will be too difficult for the minis, since most of the campaign is focused on printing books and things like that. I think most of any delays or stuff like that will be from revisions in the printing process there. As far as the minis go, this is what they do. Reaper minis, I'm not expecting too much of a delay, unless it's purely just a shipping problem. So, yeah. The only other thing that's not minis related I kind of want to focus on is this paint set here. These things are just a good deal. I mean, what is this, 12 paints? Yeah, 12 paints for $20. That's a good deal. These are these Reaper mini paints are very high quality, as far as I can tell. I've got a few stinkers here and there, but I think those might be an individual bottle problem. But for the most part, got a lot of good coverage. Very neat. For context, I don't use an airbrush, so I'm just brushing on classic little paintbrush style. And it's all worked out pretty well for me. So, yeah, definitely I would add this. And in fact, I have, because I could always use some more paints. They are airbrush friendly, by the way, if you do use one of those. But yeah, that is going to be it for today. You know, I might make a follow-up just going over the RPG itself, given that that is the actual focus of the campaign, which it looks like we are, potentially going on to another page of this map. That'd be pretty neat. But yeah, if you are interested, definitely check it out. Get you some cool minis. These are the ones that we didn't show off, but are coming, obviously, with the collector's box, but also the miniature-only pledge. Yeah, come check it out. Come get you some minis. If you want to try out a new RPG, looks like there's going to be plenty of material for this up-and-coming role-playing game here, which, from what I can tell, you can kind of plug and play into a number of other RPGs, specifically like D&D or Pathfinder, borrowing some of the stats and ideas from that. And of course, if you don't want the physical, you can get digital. But yeah, that is going to be it for me today. Thank you all so much for watching. I've been Grotto Goblin, you've been you, and thank you so much for watching and not doing yard work right outside my window. Okay, bye-bye, thank you so much, bye.